The State of Crypto is presented by Tron, connecting the world to the power of cryptocurrency.
Welcome back. Time to check in with our global policy and regulation managing editor, Nick Day, who is also the editor of State of Crypto. What's up with this Coinbase lawsuit?
Yeah, so Coinbase is actually it's now the defendant in two lawsuits filed earlier this month, both last week. One is an aspiring class action lawsuit, basically alleging that Coinbase has not been good for some of its users, saying, pointing specifically to how it looks at custodying assets and bankruptcy protections. The other one was actually filed by a shareholder, and due to what I learned as a quirk of the law, it's filed on behalf of Coinbase against its own executives. So the shareholder, Donald Kocher, claims or alleges that Coinbase's management has been very bad at what they do, and have allegedly, potentially violated securities laws, and just not brought on the return they should have for the exchange ever since it went public last April.
Yeah, so that was a question I had. So yeah, it seemed like it was Coinbase Inc. versus Coinbase, essentially, is what it said. Really, realistically, I mean, how frequent do shareholders file these kind of things? Do we know, disgruntled shareholders? It seems these kind of things might come out if, say, prices fall below the IPO price or the like. But is this just something we just, like, oh yeah, it's another one of these things?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen, not necessarily in crypto, but we've seen shareholders of companies sue, every now and then. I don't know how often those cases are successful. I don't know how often, they even get to a trial or to a point where they can argue some of these merits. But I think it is fair to say that Coinbase's stock price has not done very well over the last, 14, 16 months since it went public. And it's understandable that shareholders who are, really interested in just recouping their investments might be disappointed by that.
Meanwhile, switching topics, Nick, Tornado Cash, which is a popular crypto coin mixer, is being banned by the U.S. Treasury for, U.S. persons. And yet someone is trolling celebrities by sending them ETH from Tornado Cash, which potentially poses a problem for U.S. Treasury officials, potentially?
Yeah, so this is actually really fascinating. So as we talked about this yesterday, Tornado Cash has been sanctioned in the U.S., meaning, like you said, no U.S. person is allowed to use it. Now, what someone has been doing is sending small amounts of Ether, 0.1 ETH, something like that, so not a lot of value, but they've been sending it to prominent individuals in the crypto community, such as Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong, as well as everyday celebrities. So comedian Jimmy Fallon and Dave Chappelle, for example, also received this ETH. And this is kind of an issue because the way the law works, any person in the U.S. is obligated to, not interact with these contracts, to not interact with Tornado Cash. And so what someone is doing is basically trying to create a situation where, if I had to guess, I would assume they're trying to either demonstrate the futility of trying to sanction a, smart contract protocol that is open source and that is kind of on this, open internet, online, platform type of thing where you can't really necessarily gatekeep it the same way you could gatekeep, for example, traditional transactions, and from banks to other banks or from financial institution to financial institution. And so I don't really know what Treasury is going to do, but I was speaking to some lawyers yesterday, and one of them described this as, quote, a logistical nightmare. It is the kind of thing where exchanges have a legal obligation to block these transactions. The recipients have to the extent possible, try and freeze these transactions and these funds. And while that might be easy for Brian Armstrong because Coinbase obviously has quite a lot of experience in this, if you're a comedian who got into crypto to shill a Bored Ape NFT, I don't know if you necessarily have that same kind of sophistication or even the resources to do that. So it's going to be interesting.